to jump in and welcome those who are on this call right now. We don't want to make you wait any longer. And I want to welcome those who will listen to this recording after we actually get off of the call. You are in for a dynamic conversation. This is Sell Online with E-commerce Tools. I will say, my name is Yolanda White. I am a WeOp member and I'm also an entrepreneur. So we definitely all have something in common as we start off this conversation. I'm personally really excited about Petia diving into this topic for us. As an owner of a brand and a company that is a digital native, I really do understand the challenges. I understand the opportunities that are associated with continuously driving traffic and making sure that that traffic actually converts into sales. So it's something I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. I think this is a really dynamic conversation. And before we jump in, I just want to make sure we have a couple of the rules laid out. We are recording the session, but please feel free to talk. It's not to record anything, to capture anything personal, but it's really about us making sure that this content is shareable after we finish. This will be posted on weopwomen.com. And it also will be, I think, posted on YouTube as well. But if this isn't posted, there's other videos that you should definitely go check out on the YouTube station for WeOp from past events. We will keep the chat open, so please feel free to type in anything. I'm basically working for Petia this hour, so I'm gonna let her know whatever comes through the chat. So we definitely want to hear from you. And it's really important just to highlight that the magic of these conversations and events actually happen because of partners. And so the partnership that WeOp has been able to establish with Google has been one that's really instrumental in us diving into a deeper understanding around selling online. And there is a program, Grow with Google program, that WeOp is a part of. And it is another way for them to develop these great workshops, and for us to have experts like Petia join us in order to share her level of expertise on this topic. So I'm super excited about Petia. I had 10 minutes with her, maybe 20 minutes before you guys actually jumped on to hear from her. And I think, one of the things as Grow with Google has sponsored this workshop and they're helping us learn how we can better sell our products online, I think you'll see that the discussion really is one that will be broad, because it's one that will work from what are some of the tools you could use, as well as some of the techniques that you can put into place in order to deliver successful selling online. So I'm really excited about that. And there's more stuff that you can find on Google under the Grow with Google, just so that you can dig a little bit deeper. But I want to talk about Petia for just 2 minutes. Give me that. This woman is one who wears multiple hats, and she is one that multitasks with excellence, I would say. But really what I share with her is that at heart, she's a marketer, and she understands how to tap into the hearts and minds of consumers, but do it through the platform of digital, which I am in awe of. And it's not easy. It's something that requires both the intuition and the science working together most effectively. She is a strategist. She's a principal of her own business, which is the Stylista Group. It's a boutique digital firm. It's located in NYC. She's having great weather in New York right now, so I'm super hyped about that. But really, all of her knowledge that she's sharing with us today is backed with 20 years of corporate and entrepreneurial experience. And what makes her really unique, and I'm just bragging on you, is that she's been able to be partners with digital platforms that are instrumental to businesses like ours, you guys. So Constant Contact, she's been a partner for. Of course, she's a Google trainer, as you will see as she begins to talk. And, one of the things I think, she's launched many things from websites. She's done stuff with Boston. I'm looking at a couple of notes here. She definitely has her MBA, which I do too, which is awesome. But I think all in all, she's established a platform that allows her to work with mid-tier to large companies And she does this by establishing a relationship, building a retainer with them. And so, what I think we'll hear from her is what are some of the core principles that they actually like execute against, and she'll give us some tips on how we do it as a small business. So, Petia, we are very excited and honored to have you here today as one of our Google partners. And without further ado, I think we just dive right in, my friend.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me share my screen.
Okay, awesome.
And welcome everyone. This is my second presentation with WeOp, so I'm super excited to be here, and hopefully we'll have many more, right, over the years. So, like Yolanda said, my name is Petia Abur-Razzaaq, and I work primarily with Google partner organizations like WeOp in Ohio and New York State, but every now and again there's a special organization, and I'm not even really sure how Google makes this determination that's outside of my territory, that they're like, Petia, this would be perfect for you. So yay, I'm happy to be to be assigned you guys, even though you're not located in New York State or Ohio. So this workshop is brought to you by Grow with Google. And if you're wondering what Grow with Google is a program that helps people grow their skills, careers, and businesses through partnerships with organizations like we are. So if you'd like to take a closer look at some of what's shared today, I will be following up. I'll be sharing it with Antoinette. This presentation is brand new. It's only a couple weeks old, so you guys are lucky you've seen it. You're one of the first organizations to see it. They're still working on what they call a follow-along guide. And so this presentation has a one-pager, which I'll also share, but the follow-along guide is really intended for you to sit down at your computer, and it's like several pages long. And in addition to the presentation, actually go through steps for setting up a really robust e-commerce profile. So as soon as it's ready, they're still tweaking it because, like I said, the presentation is new. I will send that as a follow-up so you guys can have that as well. And if you're wondering how you really use it in conjunction with the presentation, on certain slides, you'll see little call outs that say reference the follow along guide, page 10. And so as you're sitting down afterwards, you'll be able to actually see where you should be paying attention to the follow along guide. Okay, so that's for later on. A little bit more about me, as Yolanda shared. In addition to being a Grow with Google speaker, I have my own boutique digital marketing agency, and I'm also working on launching a multi-ethnic mommy blogger platform with two ladies that I've worked with over the years called Mosaic Mommies. And what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be curating a select group of multi-ethnic moms to then approach larger brands. So we're talking Johnson & Johnson, the huge companies, to actually build partnerships to promote products and services, but we also are going to take it a little further and also have these moms do focus groups pre-launch, because it really bothers me that in 2021, a lot of major brands are still releasing products that are ethnically not so sensitive. And it's because nobody's in the room at the point of launch or pre-launch to say, maybe we need to take a step back and, review how we are positioning these products so that they don't offend anyone. Again, you'll be receiving a copy of today's presentation. If you have any questions, please just shoot me an email, and feel free to follow me on social media. I'm constantly sharing small business marketing tips on profiles.
This is excellent. I always like to take just 1 second if you go back.
Sure.
You guys pull out your phones and make sure you make this connection like real time. I literally just went on Instagram and followed the Stylista group. And then from there, you can go into the bio and click into Mosaic Moms. But it's really one way for us to show our support and make sure we're
supporting. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Petia.
Right. And also connect with me on LinkedIn, Petia Abur-Razzaaq. I think I'm the only one. Very easy to find me. All right, so let's dive in. In today's workshop, I'll explain why it's critical for retailers to have a robust online presence. And I'm not just talking about a pretty website, right? We're talking about a website that will actually convert and give you return in the form of cash flow, right? Because even if you're doing all of the setup yourself, you're still expending time, and your time is worth something. So eventually you need to actually see that return in investment in the form of cash. So this is important because you will not make that money unless your potential customers are able to find you easily. And when, we're not just talking about, customers, your ideal target customer. Okay, because many times, especially when we launch our businesses, the customer that initially supports us may not be our ideal target customer. It's usually, your initial friends, family. Those people usually are not really going to be people who help to make your business be successful over a length of time. So from the beginning, you really should be speaking to your ideal buyer personas. So who are the people who will be repeat customers, as well as will have the ability to share your business in their network, right? Because the driver of business for most small businesses or all businesses are referrals, right? And having a digital presence just makes it that much easier for people to share and refer you. So to help with that, I'll start by talking about two Google products, Google My Business and Google Merchant Center. And then after that, I'll introduce a pretty popular e-commerce tool, Shopify, and show you the basics of setting up an e-commerce website using that tool. Then, as always, I'll close up the workshop with a quick recap and more resources that you can access on your own. So why sell online? Every day, hundreds of millions of people turn to Google to find, discover, and shop. Now, this is not only limited to Google search. People discover products when they browse Google, reading the news, watching YouTube videos, as well as checking their emails. And I think that we can all relate to this, right? So the research shows that online shopping is actually on the rise. And within the last 12 months, we know this, right? Even if you wanted to go to your favorite store, it was closed. So you had no other choice but to support these businesses online. And in fact, shoppers go online first in 60% of all shopping occasions. Because what they want to do is that they want to make sure that this business or this brand, this shop, whatever you want to call it, actually has what they're looking for before they actually visit in person. So the value of that, if you have an online store, is that online shopping can actually also drive visits to your physical location. A global survey also found that, of course, in usual times, 45% of shoppers buy online and then choose to pick up in store. And this is usually when they have, an occasion that they need to get whatever in a hurry and they don't have the time to actually wait for you to ship to them. So there's definitely a connection there. So retailers need to show their products online because it drives sales. 58% of global purchases were prompted by something that a shopper saw online. That's usually something like an ad or, customer review or someone sharing on social, right? Maybe you sent an e-blast that was really great and somebody forwarded it to a friend, right?
Oh man, my phone
and
was
yeah, really quick.
Yes.
Petia, really quick. Let me try to. Thank you, Stacy, for going on mute. If anyone else, if you're not on mute, just put your phone on mute really quick, just in case there's any sudden, outburst.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead. You were going to say something, Yolanda?
No. This is great.
Oh.
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay. I thought you were going to add to what I was saying. Okay. Additionally, 46% of shoppers confirm inventory online before visiting a store. So again, the connection between online and offline is kind of like hand in hand. So the takeaway here is that you need to get your products online, even if you're tracking actual sales offline. All right. And then again, of course, in these times, you really don't have a choice. So did you know that the average online shopping journey has over 140 touch points? And Yolanda and I were kind of talking about that before you guys joined us. And one of the things that I was saying to her was that, you can spend a lot of money on Google ads, social media ads, in sort of a one-off promotion. Click here to buy or click to enjoy 20% off. But one of the main goals of your online advertising, whether it's social media advertising or Google ads, YouTube ads, whatever you're doing, should be to build a really strong email marketing list. And this is so because 140 touch points, meaning Even a qualified buyer, unless they're having an emergency, needs to see your products several times. Okay? So they need to see it on Facebook and then possibly Instagram and maybe a review and maybe a newsletter. On average, the number we like to use in marketing is 7 to 12. But as you trace your customer journey on an e-commerce site, you will actually see that a lot is going on between those 12 major points. So 140 touch points. Now, what is a touch point? Each touch point, so each interaction, influences what people buy and who they buy it from. So what that means is that they're not only doing research about your specific product, they're also doing some comparison shopping. Okay, so they may go back and forth between websites, analyze different ads, maybe even read customer reviews. Like, I don't buy anything online unless I read reviews. Because how many times have you seen an amazing garment and then you buy it and it comes and it looks like absolutely nothing like the picture? So before I buy anything online, I'm definitely reading those reviews to see what other customers like myself who have actually bought the product say. Okay, so things like that are considered touch points. Okay, so this slide lists some touch points on Google where US-based consumer interactions can happen. So they include things like Google search and images, business profiles on Google, the shopping tab, shopping ads, and experimental places like Google Lens. I myself have not used Google Lens to check out products, but I'm sure that there are people who are. Okay, so how do you do it? How do you get your products to appear on Google? And of course, Google is not the only search engine, we know this, but it is the major search engine. So that's why we tend to focus on Google. But the other search engines like Bing and the rest of them pretty much operate the same. So let's start with the importance of a business profile on Google using the tool called Google My Business. How many of you on the call have a Google My Business profile? Anyone? Okay, Yolanda does. I can't see anybody else. Let me just scroll over. People are hidden. Okay. All right. So for anyone who isn't familiar with Google My Business, here's a really quick overview. Google My Business is a tool that lets you create a free business profile on Google. And this business profile helps your business to stand out on search and maps. So if you have a brick and mortar location, this becomes really important for you. Google My Business is an option for businesses that make in-person contact with customers, either at a physical store or in a specified service area. In this example that we're seeing, the featured product is the Essential Spices Collection. And here, and this is pulled from this business's Google My Business profile, you can see a product photo, name, and price range. When you click on this photo, more details about this product is revealed. Now, in order for you to be able to list products and build out your Google My Business profile, you have to either create or claim your business profile on Google. And then you can do really cool things like add videos, do tours of your store, and we'll talk more about that in a few slides. Now, many businesses aren't aware that they actually have a very basic profile that already exists on Google. So what you should do is go to Google and search for your business name and see if anything pops up. And this happened because way back, what Google did was it took the old school yellow page directory. Remember that book that we would thumb through back in the day? And they uploaded any existing business listings that were within those yellow pages, right? So the great thing about that is that the profile may exist. The not so great thing is that if you have not claimed and updated that profile, the information may be really, really outdated. And that happens to a lot of people, like, oh my God, that was my phone number 20 years ago. Well, you have to claim it and update the information, right? So before you can use many of Google's products and services, including the business profile, you need to be signed into a Google account. And your Google account is your one point of access for all Google applications. Now, if you have a Gmail address or you have a business that uses Google Workspace as their corporate address, then you have a Google account. You can also register an existing account. So for example, if you have your email at mygreatstore.com and you don't want to set up a Gmail account just to have access to Google products, you can also register your unique email address, company email address, by just going to google.com/accounts and connecting that account to Google, and you can gain access there. Now, if you already created a business profile, be sure to use the same email address to sign into Google My Business, right? Because it's just one point of access. If your business or employer uses Google Workspace, you may have an email that doesn't look like a Google address, so it will not say at Gmail. If you're not too sure about this, just usually check with your IT department or whoever set up the email for you, and they will actually tell you what it is. So for today's workshop, I'm going to assume that everybody has access to Google, because you can't, you can't do any of this unless you do. And what we're going to do is we're going to go straight to google.com/business to get started. So this is how you are going to actually access and make any updates to products that you would want to showcase on Google. So you're going to google.com/business. And here you will see that we have screen I'm sharing is that way. So if I'm looking that way, that's why I can check it out. This is the dashboard that you're able to manage your product uploads, your posts, your reviews, and also get insights into exactly how your business profile is performing. So here we're going to actually edit our products. So to do that, you would just click on the product editor, and you will just simply follow the steps to upload your product photo. You would enter the product name and create or choose a category. You'll also have the option to include a price range, description, and a button, very, very important, that links directly to your e-commerce site, because that is actually where the conversion happens once they click to your site so that they can purchase. So remember, when everything is about a call to action. There must be a clickable action that then leads your potential customer to the next step or to the next touch. Okay, now when you're adding products, you should allow a few minutes for newly added products to show online. But in the meantime, you can preview how your product will appear by clicking See It on Google. And so even if it hasn't really been uploaded yet, as the business owner, you have that option. And when you click See It on Google, you will actually get a snapshot of how somebody on Google will see the representation of your product. And if you don't like it, you can just simply delete it and keep uploading and tweaking until you like what you see. Okay, so this is what that same product in the first picture looks like when you click on it from a business profile on Google. Now, when you hit that Learn More, you see there with the website icon, clicking this button sends you to the product page on the Spice House's website. So the important point here is that even if you're found on Google, you should be using this opportunity to drive traffic back to your website, because that is where the conversion happens. Now, the question I usually get is, how much does this cost? Too good to be true. Absolutely nothing. There's no charge to add these products, okay? And there's no charge when these products are clicked on. We're not doing advertising yet. This is all free, okay? So if you don't have a Google My Business profile, as we move on, definitely need to set it up, definitely need to make it as robust as possible, and make sure that if you're adding products, that you're doing it in a way to drive traffic back to your website. One more point about that. It's an absolute waste of time to drive potential customers to your homepage if you're showcasing a product. So that call to action link should go directly to that product page on your website. A lot of people make that mistake. If they're interested, they will click around once they're on their website to see other things. But think about it. Everybody's so busy. We don't have a lot of time these days. And even I have done it. Like, I click on a link saying, oh my goodness, great pair of shoes. I have a thing for shoes, like all women. Great pair of shoes. And I click to buy, and then I'm off on a blog or something. I'm done. I move on. As opposed to having that click send me straight to the shoe page where I can just select my size and check out. And then if I'm interested after I make the purchase, of course, I look around to see what else they have, right?
So Petia, I think this is really good if you have products.
Right.
Do you think the same holds true for service-oriented businesses? Is there any insight you could provide around that?
Yes. So For starters, just to clarify, um, Google My Business can be a little tricky for service providers because if you're kind of like limited, you have to actually interact with people in person, even if you don't have a brick and mortar location. You have to indicate that you meet them within a certain geography to even qualify to have a Google My Business profile, right? Also, if you're strictly online, Google My Business doesn't work for you because then you're missing that key search and maps part, right? So there's no actual location to drive traffic. But to answer your question, it can absolutely work for services as well. You can, describe. So I do email marketing. There's no real picture that I can show. I can just describe it, but then I can send them to a case study download of an email, right? I can send them to schedule a consultation, right? So you have to know in terms of your funnel what the various steps are that you could measure towards final conversion, right? So for me, it's never just a click and somebody, hires me. That's not how it works. But there are key things along the way that I could share about my service business that helps to move them along to the customer journey. So that was a great question. Yes.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Okay, so moving on to Google Merchant Center. So what about the other places on Google where products can surface? And of course, for this presentation, they're kind of focusing more on products because usually when people are selling online, you get the conversion earlier if you're selling a product online. So we're going to move on to speak about Google Merchant Center. So retailers use Merchant Center to make their store and product information available to shoppers across Google. So this is another special little product. Again, Google Merchant Center is free and you don't need to advertise to add your products there either. However, if you do want to advertise and show shopping ads on Google, you first need to set up the free Merchant Center account. And we'll talk more about that later. So what is Google Merchant Center? Many people aren't even aware that this exists. So Merchant Center is a free tool that helps you upload your store and product data to Google and make it available for Google Shopping, shopping ads, and other Google services, right? And so this is where you can find it. And again, this is one of the call out slides when you guys get the follow along guide. Page 6 on the follow along guide will give you very detailed instructions as to how to set up your Merchant Center. Okay, so you will add your products in one place in the Merchant Center. Then these products are eligible to appear in multiple places across Google. So not only the business profile. So let's take a look at a few places where they might be seen once they're added to Merchant Center. So first, products and extra product information may appear in Google search results. And now as you guys engage with Google, you will start to recognize these things. That's the value of like attending a workshop from this, because we all see it, but we don't know what we're seeing. We don't understand. So now when you go on Google, you'll be like, that company has a Google Merchant Center set up. That's why I'm seeing these products the way I'm seeing them, right? So Google's organic results typically include basic information, a title, a description, and a link. But some results show more, and now you'll know why. This extra information is called a rich snippet, and a snippet can really help a product to stand out. So again, we're using the Spice House. So this slide shows the Spice House's ground fenugreek seeds in the search results. It's jazzed up with extra information like a star rating, and that's called a review snippet. It also includes product details like price and the availability of the seeds, which is very cool. So now we're just going behind, click here to shop. We're actually educating your potential customer. So how can you help Google add that extra information to your products when they appear on Google search results? First, you should talk to your website developer if you have one about adding what's called a structured data markup to your website. So in a nutshell, a structured data markup is a labeling system that's added to your web pages. And this label helps Google and other web platforms to automatically understand your site and pull key information like what we're seeing here for the Spice description, like product data, and it pulls it directly from the code of the website. So that's a little technical, but any website developer would know what that means. So in this example, one attribute from Merchant Center is the product's availability. So this is key, right? Because you don't want to send potential customers to a product page where the product isn't available. That's also a turn off, right? And again, once you have that embedded in your website, this is displayed for free in the organic search results. So we can see from this snippet that we're looking at that the ground fenugreek seeds are actually in stock. Now, if you have a structured data on your website, it can be used automatically to update all your products in Merchant Center. All right, so that in itself can be an entire workshop, but we need to move on. However, the starting point, of course, would be to set up your Merchant Center and make sure that all of your products are correctly loaded. Next, products from Merchant Center can appear for free in the shopping tab for US searches. And so I don't know if any of you ever pay attention to that shopping tab right here when you do search. But if you don't, then maybe you should take a look to understand how this works. So you would just go to google.com, do a search for any product, and then click shopping at the top to see the search results. Or you can just go directly to shopping.google.com and check out what's shown there. You can also see products in Google Images. Again, you would go to google.com, do a search, and then click images at the top to see the results. And once again, you're not just seeing the image of the product, you're seeing the price, right? You may either see the availability. And so you're giving as much information as possible. And of course, all of these things are clickable to shopping cart. You can tell that the image in the results is connected to a product for sale if it has a product label. And that's called a product annotation. And this label indicates to you that you can click on the product to get more information as well to buy it. So again, for those of you who don't have Merchant Center shop up, you've got a lot of setup. I think you have some homework to do because this is a great way to be found organically. Does anybody have any questions about that before I move on? Anybody here have a Merchant Center set up?
I do not. This is
okay.
There right here. Donna said
and
she doesn't have one yet.
Yeah, and your business is perfect for this, by the way, Yolanda. So
yeah, I'm definitely behind the 8 ball on this. Hey, you used a term earlier that I think most people. Oh, Donna says after today she's on it. Yes, I am too, my friend. We talk a lot about the sales funnel and how you want to bring consumers in, and the funnel gets smaller as you begin to convert people. Is there anywhere in this presentation you go through the actual sales funnel, or can you just explain that concept more conceptually, like that strategic concept?
Yeah, this is a good place to do it actually. And so the sales funnel, it's generally shaped like this, right? And so the top is usually brand awareness, right? People first finding out about your product. That funnel is usually, it should never be overly wide. Like, so for example, I spoke to an beauty app that somebody is launching within the next couple of months. I'm going to use them to demonstrate this. I'm speaking to the woman. It's an amazing idea and it's great. And I say to her, "Who's your ideal target customer for this?" And she goes, "All women 18 to 65. Yolanda, as a marketer, that gives us a headache. I'm just like, oh God. No. I mean, conceptually, yes, but no. Let's narrow this down a bit, okay? So we're going to do some influencer focus group work for her pre-launch to really figure out in her 18 to 65 range where the sweet spot is, and we're going to launch to that sweet spot. So we're launching to that sweet spot. Say we find out that the sweet spot are women between the ages of 18 to 25, and those are the influencers that are really excited about this. So when we launch, when we go to market, we're going to target on social media, wherever we can, some influencers, and we're just going to go really hard within that age demographic, right? So that's building top of mind awareness. Now, everybody within that initial exposure may not really, they may be kind of sort of excited, but not that excited. So we need to figure out who are the people, right, that engage with that first exposure, who we should focus on, right, to then begin to send email marketing messages, to begin to send discounts, right, So additional touches. And what happens is if the initial community is 10,000 people, right? As we begin to engage with them more, some people may unsubscribe, some people may just not respond. So the second set of the funnel is consideration. And how do you know somebody's considering your product? They start talking back to you. They ask questions, they ask for demos, they ask for samples or whatever it is, right? So now the funnel is getting narrower. So now we started at 10,000, maybe now we're down to 5,000, okay? Now we need to figure out of those 5,000 people, how we're actually going to get these people to spend money, right? What else do we need to do? Is it a special discount? Is it an event that we do where we invite them and we have a Q&A session or a demonstration? What is it? And as we continue to have these interactions, what we do is that we narrow the funnel down maybe to 1,000 people who are really, really qualified. And now we focus more on building really close relationships with them because now we want them to action. Okay, so it's brand awareness, consideration, right? And then moving all the way down to where your target audience actually interacts with you. All right, is that clearer? Does everybody kind of understand how it works? And at every different level of the funnel, the way that you interact with those people is a little different. Okay,
That
is
was
that clear
very
enough?
clear. That was
Clear
great.
enough?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Yolanda. That was a great suggestion at this point. Okay, let's talk about Google Lens. So how many of you out here are familiar with Google Lens, and how many of you have tried it? When it just came out, I was very excited about it, and then it kind of fell off, but I guess there's still people who are using it. So with Google Lens, you can use your phone's camera to search in a visual way. And it's basically like searching with an image instead of words. So this is an example of an experimental place where products can appear on Google. So what do you know? Google Lens suggested similar photos from the Spice House's website, including links to the corresponding product pages. So Google Lens probably won't give your products the same volume of exposure as a regular Google search. And the reason being that a lot of people really don't use it. But for the people who are using it, if they're part of your target audience, you really don't want to lose them. But this is just another example of where your products could appear if you add it to Merchant Center. All right. So if you want to try Google Lens, you would download the Google app from Google Play for Android devices or the App Store. And you will and it's also available in the camera app. It's already on the camera app for Android devices, so you don't have to download it. And then you will be able to experiment with it and see if there are any products that come up in searches. It's kind of cool. All right, last but not least, Merchant Center helps retailers advertise products on Google. So you've probably seen shopping ads. We're all familiar with them. And they're more than text. They incorporate a product photo, a title, a price, store name, and much more. Now, shopping campaigns can be used to promote online and local inventory, right? That's where they're most successful. So local inventory ads help nearby shoppers within a geographical area know what you have in stock and potentially drive more sales to your business. So again, in order to run these types of ads, you need a Merchant Center account. So here's the basic process. Of course, you would create the account, you would add your products, and then you would need to connect your Merchant Center to Google Ads. And from there, you can create shopping ads to advertise your products to Google. So really quick overview as a review. You'll start by creating your free account. Next, you'll upload your products. You'll check to see where these products are appearing on Google. And you can also access the Merchant Center guide at, I'll put it in the chat, g.co/merchantsetups.com. I'll put it in the chat before we leave. And it can give you step-by-step directions. But this is the basic overview of how you can set up a Merchant Center. So Yolanda and the other person who said that they were going to do this, you have some work to do. Okay, so let's go through the steps. So we're in Merchant Center. We're going to assume that we're ready to do this. You sign into Google, of course, and then you'll enter all of the basic information for your business, including the name that's recognizable to your customers. This is a mistake that I see a lot of small businesses making, right? So no abbreviations, no, your name of your business should be consistent across all platforms. so that your current customers can recognize you, and also the people at the top of the funnel that are just learning about you. You don't want them to be confused about exactly what your business is about. Also, you need to list the country where your headquarters is located. For us, it'll be the US, or the city or state where your business is registered. And of course, your time zone. And the time zone is important because that's used for reporting in terms of seeing where traffic is coming from and the time of day and that sort of thing. Now you will select the checkout options that apply to your business. And Merchant Center has 3 options. So you can select on your website, and that would mean that when customers see your products on Google, when they click on whatever button, they're actually checking out to your website to buy it. Selecting on Google means customers can see your products on Google and buy them from there. So that's also an option. In this case, if you don't happen to have a website, you could use a service called Buy on Google to complete the transaction. So maybe you're brand new. This is a good way, I would say, to get some really good data about products. Maybe you're brand new and you're not really sure what products will really sell, what the target audience is interested in, or you're in the process of building your website. So instead of waiting for that website to launch, you can just use Buy on Google, right? And get some really good feedback as to the products that your target audience is interested in. So this service, however, is still kind of in pilot, so stay tuned as more information. And finally, you can select as your local store. When I say it's in pilot, it means that whenever companies are testing newish products, what they do is they release it to a certain subset of customers first to get the feedback, and then they roll it out to everyone. So you may or may not, depending on what your situation is, how long your business has been around, and however they decide who has access, you may or may not have access to that. And finally, you can select at your local store. And customers can see your products on Google, but the call to action would be visit the store. Okay? And you are the best person to make the decision as to what is the best call to action for your specific business. Okay? So next, you can link Merchant Center to third-party platforms. And this can simplify the setup process for your account. So Shopify, of course, is one of the platforms that is easily integratable with just about everything, which is why it's great for smaller business owners. So we'll talk more about Shopify later, a little bit more, but it's definitely a platform that integrates with Merchant Center. And you can also add additional tools and integrations at any time. So this is what your Merchant Center overview page will look like. If you're just setting it up for the first time, the prompts are displayed at the top to help you to complete the setup. So you can't go wrong. So you would just follow exactly what they tell you and just complete it. The left navigation also includes products, which links to the area where you can add and manage your products, performance to view reports, and growth. And with the growth here, you can access suggestions for improving visibility and driving more sales. Okay, so you don't have to guess. They'll pretty much tell you what you need to do. If you selected the options on your website or at the local store, you must verify your website before your products appear on Google. And there are 3 ways to do that. You can use Google Analytics or Tag Manager, or add an HTML file on your website. Now, some of this may be a little technical, and so what I would do is if you have access to a great web developer who specializes in e-commerce, then they can help you. And why I say specializes in e-commerce is because not because somebody builds and develops website, that means that they understand how e-commerce works and they would understand these kinds of techniques. So a lot of people get caught up with that, and not everybody is upfront. You don't want anybody learning on the job when you need these important tasks to be done. So make sure you ask the web developer, have you built e-commerce websites? Are you familiar with Merchant Center? Ask them for examples, ask them for customer referrals, because I find that a lot of small business owners, because you yourself don't know, you trust people that say that they do, and sometimes they literally don't. Okay, so you have to protect yourself, very important. So now that Merchant Center is set up, the next step is to add your products, and you do so by simply clicking products in the left navigation. Okay, now you can add individual products, or you can upload multiple products. It depends on how much you actually added. When you add an individual product, you will enter the information step by step. So some of the fields you would be asked for will be title, link, and price. Those are required. And there are lots of optional fields, including variants. So variants would be sizes, colors, that sort of thing. So if you sell products in multiple, sometimes they're unisex, sometimes they're for children of certain ages, those would be considered variants. Okay, so products that are added individually must be edited individually. And you can do a combination of both, okay? So product feeds make it easier to add multiple products in Merchant Center. And I would say that if you have more than 20 products, you should probably go this route. So let's take a look at how you do that. So a product feed is a file that contains all of the information about the products you want to show on Google. The file includes information about your products called attributes. So to create a product feed in Merchant Center, you will start by entering some basic information like language. Next, you'll give the product feed a name. This won't appear on Google, by the way. This is for you. This is just for you to identify this later. Then you'll choose how you want to add products to your product feed. If you're just getting started, one of the easiest ways to do so is using Google Sheets. So Google Sheets is a spreadsheet version, Excel version of the Google application. And so you would just set up your Google Sheets, and there's a template actually that's provided within Google Sheets, and you can just use it to do that. If you select Google Sheets, Merchant Center displays two options. And the options would be to use the template that I referred to or select another spreadsheet. You would choose the second option if you already had an existing product feed that is set up in Merchant Center. If you're starting from scratch, make it easy on yourself and just use the template that they provide for you. That's one of the great ways about these applications, is that they preemptively think of someone who may not have done this before, and they try to help you. So this slide that we're looking at shows the Google Sheets Merchant Center template before products are added. So this is what it would look like before you add the products. There's a link with the instructions for creating your feed again, so you should refer to that first, as well as specific specifications that you should be thinking about. The detail on this slide highlights the columns in the spreadsheet. Each column corresponds to a product attribute. So if you already have an e-commerce site, you would be familiar with a lot of this stuff, right? So Merchant Center does have some specific requirements. And so, for example, for availability, you have to specify whether it's in stock, out of stock, or pre-order. And of course, that makes sense, because if these products are being presented across Google, like we saw in the example, you want to make sure that you're not sending people on wild goose chases. Okay? So once the Merchant Center setup is complete, your Google products can appear in many places, as we discussed. Now, there's still an important topic we haven't addressed yet, which is how to actually sell the products on your own website, which is where most people start, right? It's very important. So many small businesses use third-party. Go ahead, Yolanda.
I was about to say, I love all the tools you just set up. Like that in and of itself is like so much work that I even have to go do. And I wanted you to, we have like 7 minutes left. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about, I know people can definitely follow the step-by-step that'll come, but like before we get onto the other piece, and it's a lot more, how do you suggest, for us who are on the call, it feels like most people, Donna's like, yeah, I got some work to do. How do you suggest we go tackle this? Is it best to tackle it and maybe like give us some conclusion on how to tackle that part? Because I feel like we could continue doing another, like set up another training to do the remainder. But like the way you've set it up is like, no, you really should feel pretty empowered to do this on your own as the business owner. But if you have a, web developer or something that can also help you, but give us some tactical ways you think we should tackle this and how we should approach it and what that potentially could look like.
Yes. So for starters, I don't know how many products you guys really have. So the first step is to set up the merchant center, right? Because that's the only way you get the wide exposure. And then what I would do, so I have a small boutique client, and what she did to get comfortable for Merchant Center, and she did it herself actually, because during COVID, she was just like, I just have to figure this out on my own sometimes, is she chose like her best selling products. So the products that sell easily on the website, the products that have the best customer reviews. And I think if you approach it that way, then it doesn't become so overwhelming. So choose your best 5 to 10, or even your best five, right? And get really comfortable with adding them to the merchant center, get really comfortable for the way they look and feel, get really comfortable for the reporting and what the reporting is actually telling you, right? And then once you're comfortable with those products, then over time, right, you can sit down and add the rest. That's what I would recommend, because that's what she did. She didn't just upload all 200. I mean, it can be really overwhelming. All 200 of her products. So I would do it in small batches, right? Get comfortable, see what the feedback is, understand how the reporting works, right? And then take it in stages. That's what I would do. Does that sound good as sort of like an approach for moving forward?
That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah. Otherwise, it can be very, very overwhelming because
Let's
there's a
see.
lot that has to be done.
I know, Donna's saying, yeah, she would love another training too, just to kind of
Okay.
build some of this out. Because I almost felt like I could have my computer out and literally kind of
Right,
right.
right, right.
Um, any like since we have 5 minutes left, you guys, I don't know if anyone else on the call actually has questions or
Right. Let's take some questions.
yeah, or if
Because I feel so the next half, which is the last half of the presentation, speaks about Shopify, which can be a part two, if you guys want it, because we would definitely go over time. This one is a little longer than the usual presentation. So if let's take some questions here, and maybe we could do a part two to
okay,
kind
that
of
sounds
hone in on that.
fabulous.
Right. Any questions, anyone? You guys can unmute yourselves and talk to me at this point. No, everybody shy.
Okay, so Michelle says she can't get off mute because she's like multitasking.
Okay, no problem.
But she's a wholesaler. And so, as a wholesaler, of course, she has products. But are there any suggestions? Like, I'm assuming you would suggest she still goes through the same process, but anything comes to mind for you as
For her though, I feel like, I don't feel like people who do buy wholesale use Google as well. I feel like for her though, doing more targeted advertising direct to her ideal target customer would be the way to go, as opposed to just throwing things up in Google. Because I feel like the Google searches and things work great for the B2C, right? The retail market. Wholesaling is a little different. That's more relationship driven, right? It's a different kind of marketing. So for her, I would recommend doing more targeted ads, so that you place your products directly in front of the people who would be interested in buying at wholesale.
okay, that's
The
great.
strategy is always important in driving all of this. The tools are one thing, but if you're not using them with any strategy behind them, then you just end up spinning your wheels.
I would totally agree. And then, is there any strategy that you would recommend in order to ensure that the presence that someone has on Google translates into good reviews? How would you like connect that with?
Consistency, great customer service. I mean, unfortunately, you can't really control how people feel one way or the other, but just as the brand, if you always, and this is the thing, even if somebody gives you a bad review, I recommend that you use that as a learning experience. Definitely respond, don't try to get it removed, and try to take the conversation offline.
Yeah.
Right, so that's the best practice. I'm so sorry you had this experience. Can you send me an email as xyz email address, so that we can actually have a more in-depth conversation, so that I can help you. Now, we all know they're disgruntled people, and some people just will never be made happy. But for the customer who wants to support you, who sees that response, that means something, because it means that you as the brand cares enough to respond.
That's great. So Donna has a question. What are the top 3 things you would recommend that we need to do in order to showcase our products on Google? Like, is it camera, apps, etc.?
I would say starting with the Google My Business profile, because that is one of the main things that come up when somebody does search. Being aware of what the keyword searches are for your business or industry. Because most of us that are going on Google looking for whatever, like we search for using very specific terms. So you should know what your search terms are for your specific product category. And the way to figure that out is by using Google Trends. It's also a free tool. And you should also already have a hunch, right? You should know how your customers are finding you. And so what you do is that you put those phrases or those terms into Google Trends, and Google Trends will tell you the popularity of those search terms, how they're being used within geography, right? In terms of locations of the country, if there's any seasonality. So there are a lot of search terms that, like Christmas decorations, but nobody's searching for that now, right? But
Right.
come October,
November,
right,
right.
exactly, right? So understanding how your potential customers are using Google to find similar products and services is definitely key, because those search terms need to be strategically used in your product descriptions, on your website, on your Google My Business profile, and that's how you come up organically without paying.
That's awesome. Well, Petia, I think you have done an amazing job helping us discover how to use tools that are literally free to us,
Right.
that are very under leveraged and underutilized, I think, for small businesses. And you make it sound so easy, but I'm sure we're all going to be pulling out our hair trying to figure out how the hell to do this.
Right.
So, right, that part. But I think, I represent everyone, and you can see in the comments, it's a lot of gratitude and appreciation just for you sharing this information. I think we will work with you in order to set up the part 2 so we can really
Right.
spend the time around Shopify.
Right.
And for those who are using other platforms, there are still components that are very connected
Always.
to
Always.
what we're
The
doing.
best practices are always the same for all of us.
Okay,
it just so happens that Shopify happens to be one of the most integratable platforms. And so for a small business who may not have the resources to really focus in and do a lot of technical things, it is a great choice. But from a best practice standpoint, it's always the same.
Okay, that's perfect. So yes, Donna's looking forward to part 2. I think everyone's saying, yes, give me that part 2.
Great.
But you guys, thank you for attending. We want to be respectful of your time. It's 2 minutes after. You guys enjoy your day. And as Petia has communicated on behalf of WeOp, there will be a follow-up document that's sent to you so you could do the follow along,
right,
in order to go through the process. And I would say, we're going to try to set up some accountability so you definitely get that work done, so when you come back for part 2 you really feel like you've made some step forward.
Absolutely. And maybe what we can do is start off part 2 with, for the people who have set it up, maybe some Q&A or some things that they had questions about, right? Because I think that would add the most value, and then we just move on to shop.
Oh, I think that would be excellent. So Betty, I see you on the call. Thank you, Donna. She's motivated to set it up. Yes, accountability in part 2. We'll definitely do that. Larry, thank you for being on. And it really was a great experience with Petia. And WeUp, again, thank you so much for bringing these amazing resources to us, and great partnerships in order for us to learn and be even more effective at running and building our businesses. So you guys have a great afternoon.
Okay, have a great one. Okay, bye-bye. Bye, everybody.